Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Matthew Dickerson. Tech Talk. Tech Talk. Sit back and relax. It's time to talk technology.
Hello, daydreamers and fortune seekers. Welcome to the lights and the sirens, the bells and the whistles. Welcome to another episode of Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Now, in today's show, we're looking at the latest number rolling out of the Ferrari garage. And the good news is that it's not going to please the purists. Have you got a naughty puppy that keeps finding the weak spots in your fence line? The good news is that locating lost dogs is so much easier now than what it used to be. And move over all you air slashers, air Joe Satrianis, and air Knopflers, and air Brian Mazeses. Make way for the new breed of air drummers. Air drumming is a thing, and it's making a hell of a racket in your lounge room near you. But in order to unleash all that commotion that's ahead of us, we have to bring out our resident techspert to the microphone to make his own form of a racket. Welcome, Matthew Dickerson.
Racket started. Now, today I've been attending a fascinating concept of a talk. A professor was in our area and came along to deliver a talk, and I had a good chance to talk to her before the session and then watch the session. The session was focused on specifically AI in the AI and ageing, essentially, aged care sector. Now, I'm not putting myself in that sector yet.
Yeah. Okay, you're putting drawing a line and putting a distance there.
Just to let everyone know.
But we're talking about, so AI is not something that you would essentially associate with, well, let's call it the boomer generation.
Yeah.
Yeah? And so they're ones that might have backed away from using that sort of stuff out of, maybe I'm making too many generalisations here.
Well, and I think that was what I got out of the talk, is that maybe we do make some generalisations. Maybe we do assume that people in that particular stage of their life, the third stage of their life, if you like, maybe they do shy away from AI. Maybe they're a bit concerned about it, and maybe some people are, but that would be unfair to those people, but also to the facilities that might be serving those people. And so one of the things that I got out of the talk was that the aged care sector, which we've talked about before, that has in the past experimented and used and will in the future some AI tools to deliver better care, absolutely that's the market that's absolutely primed for some AI care. So we've talked about some facilities, robots or robotics.
Last week we were talking about some stuff there.
Yeah, and it's not just about robotics, but it's certainly about utilising the technology that we have. And one of the quotes from an expert in this area was that we simply won't have enough people to be able to look after all of our population because, as we know, we're getting better at keeping us alive.
Yeah.
But we need to have someone look after us, and the kids don't want to do that anymore. They don't want to have us live downstairs when they live upstairs and look after us in our old age. They want to ship us off to a home. And then
kept thinking about that Willy Wonka story with all the grandparents in the bed.
Yeah.
At home. That doesn't happen anymore.
It doesn't happen ananymore.
No.
That's right, except if you're in Japan. It seems to happen in Japan and maybe in India as well. But that's going to be an issue. So how can you use AI? And so I suppose the thing that I got out of it is that we talk about AI a bit on this podcast, and there's a whole range of different areas we talk about, but it's such an important topic for that sector that this person from the University of Sydney was focused specifically on AI and the aged or ageism, AI in aged care sector, focused on just that part of the community. I thought, wow, that's so specific. But she's not the only one doing it across the world. There's obviously more people doing it. So AI will start to get, we think AI is a bit of a niche now, AI will start to get more niched as we go on and develop it further. We talk about it in general terms.
Well, it'll become quite nuanced, I think, as that AI will zoom in one way for one group of people, one demographic, and another way for others. Yeah,
so it'll keep. I think anyway, keep drilling down, and the solution that we will have for different areas of the community, for different people, for different ways. I struggle to think about all the different ways that AI might be used as we go forward.
Almost unlimited.
Almost unlimited. It's almost unlimited. She did say, a funny story though, she was on the radio this morning talking about AI and asked people to ring in and have their AI questions, and someone ring in asked about artificial insemination. So just to be clear here, we're talking about artificial intelligence, not artificial insemination.
Sorry. So people were calling in to ask about artificial...
One person apparently, not people plural. One person called in and wanted to know how artificial insemination would be relevant to old people. So they're a bit concerned what they're going to do with old people.
They might just have an interest.
They might. Yeah, so it is fascinating, and I get excited and maybe a little bit scared about what we're going to be talking about when we talk about AI in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years' time, because it's just exploding and so many people are focused on it.
For sure. All right, folks, it's time to zoom in on our stories for today. Now, what's your sleep number? Should I ask first, do you even have a smart mattress? Do smart mattresses even work? I've got so many mattress-centric questions to ask. All that I know is that a good night's sleep is worth every cent that you pay for a mattress that works, and that makes modern mattress technology very big business, if you ask me. Now, most smart mattresses rely on varying pressures in airbags across the mattress. But there's a new bottle out now that's rewriting the book on smart mattresses with digitally adjustable springs. Now, is this really the dream solution on not worth losing sleep over, Matt?
That's definitely not worth losing sleep over. We spend not enough money on our mattresses, I think. This seems like an expensive mattress to me. This one I'm going to talk about.
Sorry, you're saying you're going into mattress sales now?
We are apparently, yes. I'm not going to say a brand name, so just no cash for comment here. But this mattress we're going to talk about without mentioning brand names is getting up close to $10,000, which seems expensive to me.
Yeah,
but then I think,
exorbitant.
But we spend almost a third of our lives in that mattress, so maybe it's not such a bad thing to spend a bit of money on the mattress. But this one, as you said, doesn't rely on air chambers. It relies on springs, somewhere in the vicinity of 100 or more springs across the mattress, and those springs are then adjusted individually. So what happens is...
Well, I've heard, just to talk about the other method was with the airbags.
Yep.
Some people have said it's a bit like sleeping on an air mattress with various airbags in it.
And it's probably that's what they're trying to create, is it? They're trying to create
it's about different sorts of ranges of pressure. Some people like a softer mattress, some like a firmer mattress.
Yeah.
But it's still got that airbed feel about it, which doesn't entice me.
So this is trying to do the same thing as the air mattresses, but using springs to do it, and then changing the tension on those springs to give you different tension across the mattress.
You can change the tension on a spring.
Well, I imagine what they're doing is actually having an activator at the bottom of each spring that would move up to make it firmer, so you're compressing the spring slightly, or down to make it softer. That's okay. I haven't seen the mechanics of it, but that's the way I'd imagine.
Move it up and it gets lumpier. And you move it down, it gets less lumpy.
Maybe. So I don't know how they do it, but they've got the ability to measure the pressure. They've got pressure points across the whole mattress, measure the pressure on your body on different points, and they're trying to even out the pressure. You don't want more pressure on one part of your body, less on others. And as you move, it micro-adjusts the pressure on those different springs to give you an even feel. So the first thing you do is you pick your hardness. You've got from 0 to 100. You can say I'm a 60 or an 80 or 90, whatever it might be, and you get the feel that that's about right in terms of hardness level, and then off you go to sleep. And in some experiments I watched there, the system adjusted the pressure 200 times throughout the night for someone that did move around a bit. Because on their back, they've got different pressure points. Your body's shaped differently on its back compared to on your side.
Yeah, on your side where you got your shoulder and your hip.
Compared to on your stomach maybe, which I don't know how anyone sleeps on their stomach. It just seems like you're going to break your neck. But some people do sleep on their stomach.
Like 6 months old, but
yeah, that's right. Or maybe you're face down on the mattress. It sounds like ripe for suffocation. So it adjusts it automatically as you sleep. And of course, if you've got someone in the bed with you, it can have a different sleep number for them as well. So you could be a 60, they could be an 80, and that's okay because the tension will stay the same on your side of the bed, except if you get someone who likes to sleep diagonally, which then gets into your part of the bed. But ignore those people. You stay on your side, I'll stay on my side.
Sprawlers.
Yeah, that's right. So this, to me, is really just trying to get that beautiful, even pressure across your body, sleep beautifully, get your wonderful sleep that you need, and then away you go, feel refreshed the next day. So again, I think some people will balk at the pricing, but we spend a lot more money than that on other things which we don't spend anywhere near as much time in. So anyway, quite fascinating.
So the responsibilities that come with pet ownership these days has shifted up a gear now that technology is well and truly off the chain. Pardon the pun. In neighbourhoods the world over, there is already round-the-clock street and yard surveillance coming from people's doorbells, for example. DNA registration is becoming increasingly popular, so the offshoot there is easy and convenient poop tracing. Matt, if I really want to know who keeps leaving that odorous gift near my front tap on my lawn, I'm not going to need Sherlock Holmes anymore.
And I wonder how much the dogs are going to complain about privacy.
Yeah.
Because the dog union out there, I'm sure, is not happy with some of this privacy invasion. So there's a couple of things here.
Well, if they're going to invade my privacy by pooping on my lawn,
you're happy to.
I'm happy to pinpoint them for it and shame them on social media.
That's fair enough too. So the first one that I loved in this one is that you take a photo of your pet and essentially register that on a number of different sites you can use to register the look of your dog. And then if your dog ever goes missing, forget the old days when you'd print out a flyer and stick it on every power pole and light pole in your neighbourhood and say, have you seen Rufus? Then you just go onto your app and then say, I've lost my dog. What then happens is Ring doorbells, for example, other electronic doorbells are seeing information that goes past it, including dogs, and says, 57 Somewhere Street, I just saw that dog go past. So a doorbell can pick that up. Shelters, if you've got various shelters where people pick up a dog and take it into a shelter, they're as part of the system, depending on what part of the world you're in, but they're part of the system as well. Yeah. So they'll say, yep, we know that dog, and James just said he's lost this particular dog. So you're getting the look, the facial ID, the facial recognition of this dog is registered in various systems so it can be picked up. So I thought that's not a bad way
pretty
to keep
clever,
tracking a dog. Now, we've got microchipping in Australia, so presumably if a dog is lost and it's taken to a vet or taken to the pound, then it can be scanned and then see who owns the dog. But not everyone microchips their dogs, they're meant to, and not everyone takes a dog to a vet or a pound, but they might be still running around the neighbourhood, getting up to all sorts of no good.
That's right, yeah. So that being spotted by a camera that is attached to AI and can recognise that sort of stuff and then send out a bulletin to whoever needs it.
To the person who owns the dog, that's right. So people are worried about the privacy of just a doorbell monitoring everything. Well, if you're worried about that, don't get a Ring doorbell or don't get one of those branded doorbells, because they're doing that now. They're
Try not
scanning
to walk
information
out the front of other people's houses.
Yeah, so keep your clothes on at least when you're doing that. So do that. The other one that I thought was quite interesting was that some landlords are worried, more in apartment blocks than individual houses, about the fact that some people have their dogs out the front or walking around and they leave some little presents there.
Decreasing their net mass.
Exactly right. Making themselves lighter to be able to go and run around even further. And so then when the landlord says, okay, there was a deposit left down in the foyer, who did that? Oh, I don't know who that was. Oh, I didn't see anyone. So they're now asking, some landlords are saying, if you want to have a dog, you've got to register the dog's DNA. And so once that's on the system, then you find a deposit there and you just go and scan that deposit and you can say, this DNA, this is Mary's dog. So Mary, you've got a bit of a...
And from what I gather, that DNA is still reliable even when this poo dries up.
Yeah, that's right. It'll be reliable for up to 2 years.
Yeah, right. That's a dry poop.
You're probably not going to leave it there for 2 years, are you? So again...
We'll catch that guy. That's that dog.
So I did do an April Fool's Day joke one year where I did actually say that to solve litter problems in our local environment, we're going to scan or put on record the DNA of every resident in our community, and then every bit of litter that was found, we do a DNA scan and go, oh, we know who dropped this bit of litter. And of course, privacy advocates jumped up and down.
Yeah, that was received well, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So the dogs may not have someone as defensive as maybe the people were, but I always come back to, if your dogs are going to leave a deposit somewhere, you've got nothing to worry about.
Yeah,
so, but
that's right.
I find
if your dog leaves a deposit and you clean it up, then you've got nothing to worry about.
That's right. Now, I don't know off the top of my head how many genetic markers we normally use to identify a human. Do you know off the top of your head how many? No. So in these dog profiles, they use 16 genetic markers to narrow down that dog. And I would imagine in an apartment block, for example, you're probably not necessarily going to have brothers, siblings in the same apartment block. It's possible, but with 16 genetic markers, I reckon you're going to be able to narrow it down to one of those ones in the apartment block.
Well, it'd be 16. So we're talking about the location there. 16 times 4 is more like, what is that coming out to 64 or whatever?
Yep.
But then, is it about permutations? There's probably a
well,
much greater permutation that is associated with that.
I'm sure there's more than 64 variations of that with 16 genetic markers. So the other one is that another company is looking at the nose being used as a fingerprint. So the nose print, they say, is just as unique as a human fingerprint. So you can start to record things. So, for example, you can record if dogs have had all the shots they need to have to be part of our society. And you do that by taking a nose print and then keeping that on record. So any dog that comes along, you take a nose print and away you go. Now, microchipping kind of solves that problem as well.
Pad.
Yeah, that's right. So when you see a dog with ink on its nose, you know it's been up to no good. So there's a whole range of things we're doing, but pet business is big business. So you've got people that have got pets and they're doing these things now. So pet ownership, I think, is going to be more and more involved with biotechnology, and you've got to be prepared for those unions to get involved with the privacy advocates.
Watch this space. Pilot training in the military has always been a challenging game, and with VR simulators, training has certainly been gamified in a big way. But in a game where effective training requires a very specific level of stress, and we're talking fighter pilots here, drawing out the very best of those who already have the right stuff takes a considerable amount of mind reading in real time. Well, blow me down and call me Biggles, Matt. This looks like a job for brain-computer interfacing.
It does, doesn't it? And this is not the BCI where they're going to drill into their skull and stick some electrodes in their grey matter.
Not yet.
That's right. But at the moment, it's using and we've talked about this before, we're using the scalp sensors.
Scalp electrodes, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So you think when you're in the Air Force training to be a fighter pilot, you're the best of the best. I've seen Top Gun. We know it's the best of the best, right?
Yep.
These are
the need for speed.
The need for speed, that's right. These are the guys and girls that have got the best reflexes, the fittest, the most able. But what they've found is in the training is that some of the best of the best are not quite as good, and some of the best of the best are even better. So some of these pilots go, it was pretty easy. Those exercises we did today, that was flying at 50 feet off the ground and shooting on targets and avoiding. Well, that was easy. So how do they tailor the training? Because they want to maximise the output or maximise the effort for all of these pilots, not just go and do something that's hard for most of them, because some of them find it easy. So that's where they brought in not just VR, but they've brought in VR with some brain-computer interfaces that's sensing how hard their brain is working.
How much they've been challenged.
That's right. And for the ones then that aren't challenged enough, they give them harder things. Now, again, it's in a simulator, so they're not going to crash and destroy themselves and destroy a plane or eject and all the rest of it. So it's in a simulator. So if they're finding it easy, and they're finding it easy because the brain activity is not that great, they go, right, gee, James is better than we thought. Give him some more stuff. Give him some more challenges. He's only got 2 people on his tail at the moment. Go and give 10 people, make him avoid 10 and then still chase down that target or whatever it might be. So, again, when you think about...
I am that good, by the way.
Yeah, obviously. When you think about fighter pilots and the brain activity they have, then there's a whole range of other uses, I think, for this. But I thought this was fascinating. So it's the Royal Netherlands Air Force that are doing this at the moment as we speak, right this second, with 15 trainee fighter pilots. And they're basically doing this work with these electrodes on their head while they're doing all these challenges. So
amazing.
It is. It's quite fascinating. But what I love about this is I want to be able to have my brain computer interface without drilling into my skull. I'm not sure if I love that idea. So I want to be able to get them to develop it far enough that they can read my mind exactly. They can go, yes, he's thinking about chocolate ice cream at the moment. I want to know exactly what I'm thinking.
That was a simple, easy guess. You're always thinking about chocolate ice cream.
That's right. You're on to me. So if they develop it at the level where they can see how challenged fighter pilots are, it won't be that long before you just put a electrode helmet on your wife and actually finally work out what she's thinking. So
we're close.
We're close.
We're close.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating.
So here's an industry that wasn't a thing 10 years ago. As an offshoot from the funeral industry, AI now provides an option to continue the conversation with a beloved relative. Welcome to the world of Deathbots. Now, there's a coldness in that little title. Sounds a bit like an offshoot of the Terminator movie franchise, but there's nothing sinister about it. AI creates a video avatar or a doppelganger of your dearly departed that looks and sounds just like the real person, so your conversations can continue. Now, we've talked about this before, Matt, but it seems that now letting go means that you can hold on for a bit longer.
And we have talked about it a little bit before, but I'm doing it again because it's developed a lot.
Okay.
This is something that was a bit experimental, and they tried a few examples of it.
And it's quite obviously quite popular.
It's getting
among
popular.
Some people. Yeah.
So the estimation is that it's getting to the stage where it will probably be an industry worth hundreds of millions, maybe billions. And people more and more are saying, well, if I can have all of this information from my loved one, their emails, their text messages, their social media, anything they've written, their voicemail messages, record their voice, then I've pretty much got a handle on everything this person thinks. So what AI is good at doing is taking the patterns, the information that they can look at, and they can say, I can replicate that all day long. And I can add a bit of logic to that. I think that this particular person does A, B, and C, so logically they'll do D, E, and F. And so you can have conversations with them and you would think you're talking to that person who's now expired.
Yeah.
And I read some reports about some people who tried it, some people who are researchers into that, but they actually went and created their own Deathbot of themselves, which is a bit freaky.
So we're going to talk about this name too, Deathbots. It's a little bit, I don't know, Transformer-ish, Terminator-ish, but yeah, we've got to find a gentler name.
A better name, because it sounds like, a Deathbot sounds like...
Something that's coming after you.
That's right, it does, doesn't it?
It's going to keep you awake.
So these people, we've got to come up with a new name for that. These people created their own afterlife bots. How's that sound?
Okay, that'll do me. Yep.
That's right. So
we'll call them Deathbots for the time being.
Right, yeah. So you didn't like afterlife bot, obviously, so it wasn't good enough. I'll work on it harder. So these Deathbots were created. These particular researchers created them, fed into them a lot of their messages, a lot of their emails, just any information where they'd written things. And then from there, they said, okay, now have a conversation. And they went, I was speaking to a twin of myself. It was quite fascinating just how close it was. Now, you can go further than that, of course. We know that you can get voice replicated to sound like someone. We've done it on episodes of this where we've just shown off how close you can get to our voices being produced by a computer.
It's weird, folks.
It's very
Feels weird.
And the funny part was, one of these times when we did that for ours, I just used a free service that I uploaded a few minutes of both of our voices, and it sounded like us with an American twang. And one of the researchers I found was that they complained because it sounded like their voice with an Australian twang. And so I've got to find that particular service they used and use that with our voices, so we've got an Australian twang with that. But it's just fascinating how much information they could do. But what happens next week? They pass away today, and something happens in the news next week. Someone says, oh, what do you think about the Winter Olympics? And so they're giving opinions on things that they would have had no opinion on. But again, these AI tools will look at all the information they've got on that person, and they'll make some assumptions from that and say, well, here's what they thought about all that. So I think about the Winter Olympics, they would think this. So in the future, you would have opinions of that person that would be based on everything they had in the past. And let's face it, you can pretty well guess in some cases what someone's going to think about something because you know what they've said in the past. Yeah. It's consistent with them. So it would be a bit freaky and a bit scary, especially if you had the Deathbot while you're still alive, because you could say, so can you tell me what I think about the Winter Olympics? And you'll hear an opinion back that's completely in line with all of your other comments, all of your other thoughts.
So you can go down rabbit holes and have arguments with relatives that you would have had over the Christmas table long ago.
How long? There almost needs to be some regulation put in place. You can only have a Deathbot for 10 years or some time frame, because imagine in 200 years' time you've got you and I still talking.
People still ask you questions.
That's
it's
right. So it's a big industry, and I'm not sure that it's great for. Some people say it's good for grief, but does it mean you're holding on to someone for longer?
At some stage, that Band-Aid's got to come off.
Yeah, that's right. And I think the other thing that's interesting is that my kids don't live in the same town as I live, and I talk to them on the phone on a semi-regular basis. When we see them in person, it's nice, but it feels like we're up to date with what they're doing and we're still in touch with them because we talk to them on the phone.
Yeah.
So with this, do you really need to see someone in the flesh? It's nice when you do that, but you could just keep having those virtual conversations for a long time and still think they're there.
And then are your memories influenced by the new conversations that you're having, which then affect your memories of them while they were still alive?
Now, here's another one.
This is just weirding me out, and I'm having trouble with it.
One of my kids has just bought herself an apartment, and she's doing a few fix-up things in there. And so she rings me semi-regularly and says, now I've got to do this, Dad. And what do I do? Like, how do I sand a door, for example? Just some basic things like that.
Yeah.
So if suddenly I was gone, but she had all my information, would that be relevant? How would my information on how to sand a door? I've never written that down. I've never talked about it until now on this podcast. But how would that information ever get to my daughter? Maybe be better advised. Maybe the Deathbot would just go, I've got no idea. I've got no information about Matthew's knowledge, but I'll just go out to the internet, get information on how to sand a door properly, and away we go.
You've got some homework, because we can get an answer to this, you realise. We can work out exactly how this is going to pan out.
I want to go and create my own
just setting up,
Deathbot.
so you're going to get a doppelganger of yourself going,
so
and
we
see
could
if your kids can recognise the difference.
Well, that'd be interesting. I'll just have a conversation with one of them and say, was that me or not? We could upload 260 episodes of Tech Talk. There's a whole bunch of thoughts. They'd say everything you talk about is technology, though, Dad. So, so it is a fascinating thing. I keep changing my opinion on what I think of it, but it just goes to show how far that generative AI has come, where it can actually pull information and create a personality that matches someone's personality very closely.
The question will be is, do you have to let go?
Yeah, well,
does grieving have to include letting go?
Yeah.
And I think that'll be the new thing, won't it?
Well, it will.
Just, for now, we know you've got to let go.
Yep.
But what if you don't have to let go?
Well, that's, I suppose, the thing, whether we need regulation or just some ethical boundaries around how far this can go. It's very freaky.
Prescription hearing aids have come a long way in the last 10 years. A key inhibiting factor in take-up over the years has been how clunky and obvious the old models were. Some people just preferred to suffer in silence because they were just too embarrassed with those older models of hearing aids. But in 2026, hearing aid technology is upgraded and downsized. The new generation of hearing aid fits so snugly in the auditory canal, you'd only see it if you were looking specifically for it. So, Matt, again, good things come in small packages.
They do in this one, and it's 1.68 grams, this particular model.
You wouldn't even know you're wearing it.
You wouldn't even know. And I think if you had a bit of hair that went near your ear, it would hardly be noticeable at all. It's in the canal, in the ear canal. It's got a little bit of wire that comes out and just loops over your ear, and that's more for keeping it in place, but also an antenna to be able to transmit the data.
This is Mission Impossible sort of stuff, yeah?
Well, it is, exactly right. But I think you're right that some people have been a bit self-conscious about having some sort of hearing aid in the past. Might be a big clunky system on their ear, or it's really obvious. And so people have probably stayed away from it. I'm not sure why we're okay with glasses. No one seems to be concerned about glasses, which are much more obvious than a hearing aid.
But there's an aesthetic about glasses that's different to hearing aids. I think I can understand it. It's just about the aesthetic.
Maybe we should make them bigger and groovy. Is that it?
So, well, there are a lot of people who wear glasses because, there was a period there where you had a couple of choices for your rims, and black and thick, were really, obvious, and people just didn't want to have anything to do with them. And I don't know. It's all about the style at the time, I guess.
So people say, "Gee, I love your new glasses, James." So, really. So what people need to say is, "Gee, I love that new hearing aid. That really suits you. I like what you've done with the hearing aid." So maybe this story is completely wrong. Maybe we need to be saying, don't make them small. Don't make them 1.68 grams. Have it sticking out your ear. Make it like Dumbo. Make it big. You want to have bionic hearing with your big Dumbo ears sticking out there, so you can hear what someone's saying at 100 metres.
And big, we've got those horn rim glasses. You could have horn rim hearing aids.
You could match your glasses to your hearing aids. They can come as a set.
You could make them look like wings, like the Flash has got, or Captain America.
Or someone off Star Trek, maybe. Maybe you have it sticking out the top there. So I was going to talk about how wonderful this technology is, but now we've got it all wrong.
No.
We need the
bigger and better. No, right. No, but it's so small. Yeah, good things.
1.68 grams sits right inside your ear canal. One feature I do love about it is that people often talk about the fact they've lost their glasses and people want to have some sort of technology on their glasses to find them. Well, these do have the Find My iPhone feature, the Apple feature, built into the hearing aid. So if you take them off, if you I don't know, sleep or you charge them, whatever, and then forget where you've put them, then you can use the Find My to actually hear where they are, although you might be able to hear because you haven't got your hearing aid in, but that's all.
Do you know, can you control volume in any way? Do you do that with your phone or something? Or
Yeah, so they're set up to control via your phone. And one of the things that's really clever with hearing aids is that you can change the environment you're in. So you can be in a one-on-one conversation, you put it on one-on-one conversation, one setting. You're in a crowded environment, you change the setting. You're in a concert, a rock concert, you change the setting. So regardless of where you are, you've got that ability to change that setting. And you just do that via your phone. They're connected via Bluetooth, obviously. But the other part is you don't need to buy a set of earbuds because if you wanted to listen to music, you've already got a device in your ear that can produce a bit of music. So you've got everything covered there. I think people probably will be more and more accepting as they get to that smaller size, despite our demand for larger hearing aids. I think the rest of the world is saying small is good. And I think we'll just find that this technology will keep improving and the quality of what it produces will keep improving as well.
Yeah. We all take a lot of photos these days. Now, in the days of film photography, you'd wait for those special occasions and you tried to frame up something a little bit more carefully, something worth saving for the memory. Well, nowadays, phones are loaded with thousands of shots you'd never look at again. And if it weren't for the old on this day sort of app reminders, you'd never look at them ever again. The art of photography that we all gave at least a bit of thought to 30 years ago has been replaced with AI-enhanced digital shots now, and everybody's taking exhibition-worthy photographs all the time. So you can't just check everything. But Matt, with AI correcting errors and filling in the gaps, is there a chance that we're being gaslighted a little bit by AI?
It's a big,
so it's doing
a big
touch-ups.
accusation. Yeah, it is a big accusation you're making, gaslighting AI. So it's cheating, basically. What you've got is physics trying to be gotten past. You've got a little tiny lens with a little tiny sensor. You look at a normal SLR 35mm camera and you've got...
It's got a big
lens.
Yep.
And it's got a big sensor. So that big lens is going to have more light coming into it. The sensor at the back is going to have more light hitting that. So it's got to have better detail. But you see these little tiny lenses on a phone and you go, wow, look at that photo.
Yeah,
so,
they all look so much better quality these days.
They do. And so they're cheating. They use what's called computational photography. So when you go click, you're taking up to 10 shots in that one click. And then the phone, using some pretty powerful processing on board, stitches them together, blends them up and says, here's the best of those blended, but gee, it's not quite sharp enough. So you know what? I'll just fill in between the pixels and make it look like
it could be making stuff up.
Correct. And that's exactly what it does. It makes stuff up. So it's doing all these calculations. It saves it. You look at that and go, isn't that crisp and sharp? But if you actually compared it to a proper photo with a proper large lens on a normal, it could be a digital camera, but on a normal camera, you'd go, gee, that one's slightly different. Some bits there are missing.
So that guy's missing his wedding ring. Did he really take it off? Or did AI just miss that detail?
Move it all together. So hopefully it's not something that big, but it might be a little pimple or a little blemish on your skin. But the example is Samsung brought out their 100 times space zoom camera on their phone. So you point it at the moon, you take a photo and you go, wow, look at that. And that is absolutely cheating. So we can't see from our eyes craters on the moon, for example.
No.
We look at a white spot in the sky and that's about it. And when you do take your Samsung phone and point at the moon and take a photo, it puts in details showing craters and shadows. You look at that and go, wow, that camera's so good. But it's been shown that...
And then you look at a proper shot of the moon, you go, hang on a second.
It's not quite the
Is
same.
it the same moon?
But it gets worse. If you take, and anyone out there with a Samsung, with a new Samsung phone, do this experiment. Take a photo of the moon. So just a normal piece of paper with a photo of the moon, or even something on screen that's got, looks like a dark night sky with a moon. Take that, and the Samsung goes, oh, I know what this is. This is a photo of the moon. I better make sure I make it look really detailed to show off my camera technology. it basically drops in a replacement moon with all that detail. So you take a photo that you know has got no detail on it, and the camera gets tricked into thinking that's actually the moon. I better make it look good for these people.
Gaslighting.
Gaslighting, that's right. So next thing you know, you'll be taking the photo of the moon and you'll be able to see the American flag sitting on there.
We cannot believe anything anymore. I just took that photo.
So,
why have I got a different moon on there?
Now, I've made...
So that's it. So you take a photo of the Eiffel Tower or the Pyramids of Giza.
Well, I think...
And what you see might be different to what you was presented in your photograph.
And the moon is a special case. The moon is set up specifically on the Samsung to make it look like this camera is better than any other camera on any other phone. So the Eiffel Tower, etc., will still fill in gaps.
You can take a photo, just provided you're not taking photos of the moon.
That's right. But it's still filling in gaps. It's still making up stuff in between the pixels. Yeah. But I've made the joke before that in the movies you see a photo that's taken from a satellite and you see a blurry car with a blurry number plate, and then they hit the button, which I've never seen in the real world.
We need to enhance this.
That's correct. And then suddenly the camera turns a blurry photo and a blurry number plate into a perfect picture of a number plate. And I've made the joke that you can't do that, but you can now. You can go enhance button. It's just doing it. You don't even need to hit the button to say enhance, but it's filling in the gaps. It's making up the stuff between the gaps.
It's enhancing it whether you like it or not.
That's right.
I just wanted a blurry photo.
So it's combating blur by basically putting in all these extra pixels, and all of them do it. So it's not, I did pick on Samsung a bit there, but it's all of them that do it. Because what you want to do when you're trying to buy that latest phone, they all do the same things. Oh, look, the camera might be different. So you take a couple of photos with different cameras. Oh, look at that. That is so sharp. That's so crisp. That's the phone I'm going to buy, even though it's not reality. So you might miss a few blemishes on there. In the Asian markets, where they do seem to be, in Korea in particular, I remember going through Korea and I had a couple of kids with me and my wife, and they just commented, I didn't really notice it much, but they just commented on every shop we went past in a shopping mall had beauty products. The Koreans in particular seem to be absolutely obsessed with beauty and with skincare. And you know, there were some women there that told me they were 97 years of age, looked like 20-year-olds. It obviously works, their skincare routine. But in some Asian markets in particular, these phones are shipping with AI beauty filters that are just enabled by default. You buy the phone, take a photo, and that old wrinkly skin becomes perfectly smooth 20-year-old skin. So it's happening all the time. And I just wonder whether it gets to the stage where we need a feature that says, give me the raw photo. There are, and I say that, there are cameras that give raw photos. They take very high resolution raw photos, but no one ever uses them. They just use the normal
filters have become so common.
Yeah, that's right. So
nothing's real anymore.
Nothing is real.
I'm not
anymore.
Real here, sitting here. You know that, folks.
This is just AI, obviously, filling in the gaps. We just said hello and goodbye, and then it's just filled in the gaps.
It's filled in all the gaps.
That's right.
Months ago, we hinted that the next story was on its way. Well, bust out the scarlet red ticker tape because the first fully electric Ferrari is ready to hit the streets, ladies and gentlemen. There'll be no growling beast of a V12 engine here, just sleek scarlet blur gliding its way across European freeways with a gentle swish as it brushes by its internal combustion competitors. Matt, the high-end luxury sports car market could not hold back the EV tide any longer. The bubble was burst with a bright red flash. Yeah,
and I assume it's pronounced Luce, Luce.
Luce? Would it be Luce?
Yeah, Luce sounds better.
I want to say Luce.
Yeah, okay, let's go Luce. So the Ferrari Luce. Now, it's not your normal Ferrari look. It's not the sports car look. It's more a family-friendly Ferrari. So it's still powerful. It's still designed to be a Ferrari, but just a bit bigger to fit the family in rather than just two seats to go.
No one's going to see what it looks like when it whizzes past you on the Autobahn.
No, that's right. So one of the things that's fascinating in this is that the whole interior has been redesigned, and the company that's done that is a company called Love From. And that's a company which means nothing to most people except when you find out that this is the design studio that was founded by Jony Ive. Now, many people would know him from Apple days. So he was the one that was given a lot of the credit for the beautiful Apple look, the beautiful simplicity of the Apple iPhone for many years. And it was a big deal when he left Apple in 2019 and went and started his own studio. And so he does design projects for people, obviously. Ferrari said, yep, can you do that for me? It actually got loved from, was a little business he started up when he left Apple. And I'm sure Joni wasn't struggling for dollars, but he sold this business last year to OpenAI. Not sure why OpenAI wants a design studio, but he sold it to OpenAI for $6.5 billion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
for doing a few pretty pictures.
That's pocket money, yeah.
It's not bad, is it? Yeah. So the whole interior of this new Ferrari looks a bit like an iPhone 4. It's got that beautiful symmetry, lots of squircles. I love the word squircles.
Squircles.
So lots of squares with rounded ends, so squircles. Lots of symmetry, lots of circles in general. Very much a minimalist look, but still got something that just makes it look distinctive. So when you jump in that Ferrari, it's still got some tactile, and Joni Ive was interviewed about it, and he still said, I still want a car that's got some tactile feel, some buttons to it, not like a Tesla that just has one touchscreen for everything. It's got several touchscreens. It's got 40 individual pieces of Corning Gorilla Glass throughout the cockpit. It's using aluminium. They've got a range of aluminium panels, and you've got the controls behind the dash that will change depending on what the car's doing. So it's an LED display behind the dash, but changes depending on what you're doing. So I just love that look. But the big story here, I suppose, it's all fascinating in terms of that internal design, but Ferrari has said, you know what, we've got to go full electric. We've done some hybrid stuff. For the last 10 years, we've been doing a bit of hybrid stuff, but now it's time, folks. Let's take Ferrari
Time for a different
all the
toy.
way. Yeah, that's right. So the world is moving on, and the world is moving on with style.
And it'll be interesting to see how the other high-end luxury sports cars follow. Now, anyone who knows you, Matt, knows that you can rock out an air guitar with the best of them. An air guitar is where you feel most at home, and we all know that. Given the right cut-off T-shirt, a pair of spiked leather bracelets, and a Mel Gibson Lethal Weapon mullet wig, and that smart money is on you to take out any guitar challenge in the country. That's the air guitar challenge, I should say. Just name the pub, folks. But sadly, Matt, the age of the air guitar is dying now. Air guitar has become so passé. So last year, it's time to make way for air drumming, but folks, air drumsticks make a noise. No skins required.
It's fascinating, isn't it? So
you just got the sticks, and you're playing the whole drum fill,
and it's making noise.
Making noise and annoying the neighbours.
So this is interesting because when we had our kids growing up, we said we want them to learn an instrument. We think that's a good idea. And the first couple of kids, piano, that was fine. So we bought a piano that was electronic. So not a synthesizer, it was a full piano, had the full feel. We got advice from some music experts and it had the full feel of a normal piano. But the greatest part was you could plug in some headphones and they could practice to their heart's content, and we didn't get too annoyed. Then by the time we got to our third child, he said, the guitar maybe sounds a bit more exciting than piano. I went, okay, that's fair enough, because a guitar, electric, that's pretty easy. We can still do that, and we can basically have no sound. So you've got to plug it into your amp to make sound. Meantime, plug it in your headphones, that's great. So he did that for a couple of years. Then he decided he wanted drums. I went, oh no. Like violin, saxophone, drums seem to be the three instruments that you don't want your child to play unless you've got a soundproof room somewhere. We said drums. So we researched it and we found some electronic drums, electronic drum kit, where you could play just like a normal drum kit, hook it up, make noise or not make noise. So we thought it was fantastic. But if only this would have been available when our son was doing the drums. So this is something, we've talked about some other things before, where you go back maybe 10, maybe 15 years, and it would have been impossible. Just the technology had not developed far enough. And this idea here that they've got is not about, gee, I'm glad someone came up with that. I would say 10 years ago, if not say 15 years ago, you might have had the idea, but you could not have done this 15 years ago with the technology that's in these drumsticks.
Was it just about the processing power, or was it a...
Well, I think a whole range of things. So the first thing you've got, they look like drumsticks. So great, you've got some drumsticks there. As you say, you've got no skin to hit them against. So the first thing you need is some sort of motion sensor, so you know how fast you're moving the drumstick, whether you're just doing a light tap because you've got a little jazz number, or you're doing some heavy rocking. You want to know how hard you're hitting that drum against, well, nothing, but how hard you're swinging that drum. So you need a motion sensor that's small enough to fit inside a drumstick and still be able to give you some accuracy in what it's doing. You need to be able to track the position, the movement. You need a 9-axis navigation chip to constantly work out the angle, the speed, the direction. You need some sort of vibration tool in there so when you hit the drum, it actually gives you some feedback. Mind you, the drum is air. So you're swinging this in midair, you need some sort of vibration.
You're still feeling some sort of resistance there.
Correct. And you need that to change depending on how hard you're hitting the drum that doesn't exist. Then you need some connectivity to an external device so you can hook it up to an amp. And obviously, in all of that, you need a battery to power the whole thing. So all of those different components to fit inside a normal-sized drumstick would not have been possible, as I say, maybe 15 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. So that's what you've got now. You've got drumsticks that you can play. They've got 128 levels of velocity sensitivity. I mentioned the 9-axis navigation chip. So this can work out how fast, where you're moving them. If I'm hitting my drum in front of me or I've got my snare off to the side, it works out that I'm hitting it in front of me or off to the side. I want to see a busker down in the middle of Sydney, in the middle of Martin Place, playing these air sticks and making a whole drum noise. You see people down there sometimes playing various drums. They have a drum kit or they have buckets they're playing.
Yeah.
I want to see someone down there in Martin Place playing the air drums because I think it'll be fascinating for people to walk along and go, what's going on here? There's nothing. He's hitting nothing.
Just shaking these sticks.
That's right, and noise is coming out. You've also got the ability to give you, like a foot pedal. So you've got a foot pedal that doesn't.
Oh, for the bass,
hit, That's right, but doesn't hit any drum because there's no drum there. But you've still got a foot pedal to give you the bass, the rhythm, if you like, of that particular drum kit. So I thought that was all fantastic. Plug it into headphones while you're practicing. Plug it into an amp, and then pump out the sound. Get an amp that goes to 11 if you really want to annoy someone.
All the way up to 11.
So all of this again is just something that's not needed. I mean, there's some instruments you wouldn't want to play if you're a bit mobile. So the cello, for example.
It's a difficult one to move around the stage with.
That's right, the drum kit. I mean, some of the things you don't want to go and get on the train with your drum kit because you're going to go and play some music at a friend's place.
Concerts look all totally different. People are going to be walking around with just these air sticks.
Imagine that. Imagine if you came out, you go to a rock concert, you go to a Bruce Springsteen rock concert, and the drummer comes out with no drum kit and a couple of drumsticks, and you go, no, something's wrong here. They're pretending. They're playing, pretend backing music.
That's
backing
right,
drum.
the backing track.
That's right. What I would be fascinated to see is how well it would translate. If I go and learn how to play the drums on air drums, could I actually play the real drums? And vice versa. If I take someone that's a great drummer, let's go and get Phil Collins on the line and say, Phil, go and get some air drumsticks and see if you play them straight away as if you're playing a drum kit. It'd be fascinating to see, wouldn't it? So, yeah, absolutely fascinating technology. And do we need these? Probably not. But it's probably getting to the point where it's making it easier for people to get into a musical instrument when you don't need, the musical instrument.
I like the idea of putting on the headphones and just walking around. You don't have to buy the full kit and all that sort of stuff. That would have been saved a lot of expenses for a lot of families.
I've seen people who do play the drums on the way to their drum kit or sitting there waiting, and they're just tapping away in midair, just almost warming their hands up. But imagine if you saw that happening, but they were actually hearing the drumming. Like it would be a bit freaky, I think, just to watch that and go, where's that coming from? How is that possible? What is going on?
We're living in the future. Time to put away those air guitars. Now, I had a number of jobs in my time at uni, but perhaps the least interesting job was where a couple of times I had to count people getting on and off trains, entering and exiting the station. I did it for a local council. I had a row of counters, and if you hit one, if they stepped out of the train and turned left, you hit another one if they turned right, another if they arrived from the stairs, another if they... you get the picture. Not a very stimulating job. I imagine it was hard to get people to commit for the people who actually needed that data. They need more suckers like me, I guess. Well, I showed them. Sometimes if it got too busy, I just punch all the buttons randomly without even counting. Yeah, baby, that's me, rebellion all the way. Matt, city councils need traffic data, though. So in 2026, there's got to be a better way than employing some idiot with a clipboard and a row of buttons.
And so you tell that to the kids today that one of the jobs you did at uni was counting people off trains, and they don't believe
counting cars turning at intersections. I did that too.
You had some great jobs. So I thought I had some good jobs at uni, but they sound great.
Whatever gave me a little bit extra cash.
That's right, and you probably got paid $2 an hour to do it.
It wasn't very much.
So I wonder how, I know you're a very trustworthy person, but I wonder how many other people employed like that just went to the pub for the day and then filled in some numbers. That's right, and handed it back in.
You had to hand it back with the counter showing the number as well and the record on the paper.
You go to the pub and just punch the numbers on the
that's
counter.
right. Yeah. You could hand it around, get other people to punch numbers in as well.
I'll just go to the toilet. Can you do this for half an hour? So I'm a big fan of data. I love analysing data from a business perspective. And on people counting alone, over the years, I've always had different types of counters in my businesses. Back in the old days, it used to be a little device that sat there near the door and it would count over with a beam, and you'd have to go and get that device once a month and write down that number or reset it. I can't remember exactly what I had to do with it. And then it progressed to the point where it'd do it automatically. You could go into the cloud and look at that data. And I've gone now to ones that I'm pretty impressed with that started counting people with cameras, so it would actually look at people. So the problem with the beam counter is you and I walk into the store beside each other, it counts as one. Whereas the cameras over the top of the entrances to stores will count you and I as two. The latest cameras I've got in my businesses actually count male, female. They count adults from children based on their height. So they're making an estimation that children are typically below a certain height. So it's not perfect for that.
Guessing my age as well when I visit.
Well, I reckon it could probably do that. I haven't seen that yet, but based on the way someone walks, I reckon the AI would be clever enough to do that. But at the moment, all I can break it down to is pushing a pram, coming in a wheelchair, male, female, and age. When I say age, adult, child is basically, So that's fascinating data. You also get, which I love, dwell time. So looking at those cameras coming in, it'll work out how long on average people are spending in your business. Dwell time. So that's expensive.
Lots of interesting data there.
That's right. Expensive. You go set it up in the ceiling. It's mounted hardwired, all the rest of it, but good for a business that want to do all that. This story is about just random foot traffic that you might need somewhere. You've got a concert on, you've got an event on. I'd love to know how many people. The kids today, they're not like James. They don't want to sit there and count how many people come through the door of this event. How are we going to find this data out? And this little device is called PeopleSense, as it sounds, people, then S-E-N-S-E. So it's a little device, IP68 rated, so you can put it outdoors, obviously, and it will just count people. It's got battery life, so it doesn't need to be hooked into power. Battery life that'll last a couple of years. It'll upload the data to the cloud for you. So essentially, it's just a little people counter that you can put anywhere. And I know in some other jobs that I've done and some other work that I've done, sometimes we're trying to find out how many people are using a particular trail, like mountain bike trail or walking trail. How many people are using a walking track around the river? How many people are going to an event that we're putting on without having to put someone there to count all the people that are going and doing that. So this sort of device, which is cheap, $200 we're talking about, small, it'll attach on basically anything, probably unobtrusive enough that someone's not going to go along and vandalise it because they wouldn't even recognise that it's there.
Yeah.
It's amazing how far we've come in this sort of ability to do that. It's not using, I talked before about a beam, it's not using a beam, you only need one. It's not using cameras, it's actually just using passive infrared. So it needs to be people within a few metres of it. So you can't have a wide opening, but you can have multiple ones of them. And it would still get tricked by two people walking along side by side. Right. But if you just want to get a gauge, not an absolutely accurate number of something, if you want to get a gauge of something, you can do that. I mean, you can even have it set up, if you're putting an event on and you wanted to know how many people are coming through, because after a certain number, we realise we need more people on the merchandise stand. Or we realise that we've got certain numbers that we need to have security for. Once it goes over a threshold, we need to add security guards to it. A whole range of different ways, because I love data. What you do with the data is separate, but I just love getting data for things to make sure you make decisions with data. And my staff, they'll tell you that, I quote this to me so many times, they'll come and ask me a question, and my answer is, what's the data show? Oh, well, I just thought, well, what's the data show? Tell me the data.
I've got the feels.
That's right. And that's not good enough for me.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
And sometimes you'll have the feel, and your feel may well be right, but I'll say, give me the data. Make a decision based on the data, not on just, oh, no, it feels right. We should have more staff on. Why? Oh, it feels busy. Well, what do the people counters say? How long people are dwelling for? You know, all that. And you look at the data and, oh, absolutely, we need 3 more people on. Or actually, no, you're just all bludging. So so this little device, I say it's called PeopleSense, little device that uses the Internet of Things. That's why it can go for so long with a small amount of battery power. So it's not like it's using something like the mobile phone network, constantly connected. It would only connect when it needs and send a tiny bit of data, which is just the number. So just a very clever idea and a very clever use of technology. And you could get near real time. I think it would probably update every 10 minutes. Maybe you could do a little bit more often than that, but that'd be often enough. I think if you get an update every 10 minutes where the people counters are up to, you'd get an idea of how busy some area is, how busy some festival is, how busy some exhibition you've put on is, and you'd soon get a feel for it. So
and
very
get
clever.
a good feel for it and make some positive changes here.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Good-o. All right. Well, that's all there is for another week. This well of news stories from the future has virtually run dry. There's nothing left but a heavily pixelated animation of an empty bucket. Thanks for another cracking Tech Talk, Matt.
And I'm going to give away a secret here. Hopefully my son's not listening to this episode, but I think I'm going to go and buy those
drumsticks?
air drums and just give them to my son and say, just do me a favour, go and bust down Martin Place for just an hour. I just want to see people's reaction. I just want to see what they do when they see you drumming away. You got your amp beside you and you're just drumming into thin air.
I've got to say, when we get to this stage every week, I think about, which of those stories do you reckon I could, go the furthest with? And I thought, the Ferrari, but then I'm never going to have one of those Ferraris. The drumsticks, though.
The drums, you might, you reckon?
I could annoy the hell out of some people with those.
And actually, speaking of annoying people, you could, because you could hook up an amp somewhere.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're banging away drums and people are going, where's that coming from? And you're looking there going, I don't know. And just waving some sticks around the air. Because there's no drum kit. How can they possibly make a drum sound with no drum kit? So, I really want him to try that. Anyway, I'll line him up for that.
And thank you one and all for joining us once again for Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. It's the only hydrogen-powered podcast on the entire internet to give you that fresh, sustainable feeling inside. That's good podcast. I'm your host, James Eddy, wishing you a satisfying week ahead until we meet again for our next episode. I hope you'll join us all again for that, and maybe tag a friend to come along again with you for the ride. The more the merrier. Until then, take care, and we'll see you when we see you.